Assalamu alaikum to the second session on how to construct the learning strategy or the learning outcomes. In the previous lecture, we discussed about the three domains of learning, and for that we discussed the uh, difference between the objective, the goal, the competency, and the outcome. Then we discussed some various competencies according to the various regulatory bodies around the world, and then we discussed the psychomotor domain as well as the cognitive domain, discuss their levels, their subdomain, as well as uh, elaborate them through an example of the meningitis. Then we discuss the psychomotor domain, that there are four levels of the psychomotor domain: the observation, direct supervision, and without supervision, practicing independently. Then we discuss with this example, and then taking that example of taking sample of that cerebrospinal fluid to the AG procedure in the children with meningitis. So, taking that example, we will write how we can construct learning outcomes for the T1, T2, T3, and T3. Then we discuss some pictures and then discuss that which sub-level they are. Now we are here at the last subdomain, structural domain, and after that, then we will come towards the conclusion. And now, what is actually the mechanism and how we can construct, how is the procedure of construction of the learning outcomes? Why it is important that we are going to revise and we are discussing the three domains of the cognitive domain, because this is the requirement, this is the necessity for that learning outcome. The teacher, the demonstrator, when they are going to construct the learning outcome, they should have the understanding and detailed understanding of all the level of the three domains of the Bloom's learning. So the receiving, responding, grading, organization, and then the characterization, they have been summarized into three sub-domains of the levels. That is the A1 receiving, A2 as responding, and the A3 which is internalizing, directed by that. So these three that have been summarized according to the six criteria. Instead of that, five levels that can be used as an assistant three levels. तो सबसे पहले हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि एक्चुअली ये रिसीविंग, रिस्पॉन्डिंग, ग्रेडिंग और इसके मतलब क्या है। ये वो लेवल्स है जिसमें हम असेस करते हैं स्टूडेंट्स की किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन, किसी भी परफॉर्मेंस के दौरान उनकी एटीट्यूड क्या है, बिलीव्स एंड इमोशंस और उसके रोल एक्सपेक्टेशन, किस तरह उनको एक रोल, उनको क्या कैरेक्टराइजेशन होनी चाहिए, क्या क्या जो है उनकी एटीट्यूड होनी चाहिए और क्या रोल होनी चाहिए when they are giving, when they are just attending a seminar, when they are attending a demonstration. So first of them, the initial level is the receiving, in the responding, grading, and organizing, and conceptualization, and then what is the characterizing by way. तो रिसीविंग का मतलब ये है कि एक इंटेंशन, इरादा करना है कि वहाँ पे जो है जैसे क्लास डेमोस्ट्रेशन हो रही है तो क्लास के लिए जाना और फिर उसको, क्योंकि आप इंटेंशनली ही इज हियर, तो उसको अब कॉन्शियसली जो है उसको ऑब्जर्व करना है, उसको खामोशी के साथ जो है उसको टीचर डेमोस्ट्रेटर को लेसन करना है, और इस इंटेंशनली जो है वो यहाँ पे वो अटेंड कर रहा है। तो ये जो इनिशियल वे ऑफ दैट इंटेंशन से that is he is receiving the importance of that demonstration, that is actually known as the receiving. Then थोड़ी सी और भी हम एटीट्यूड जो है वो देखते हो, ये है कि वो सिर्फ ये नहीं कि सुन रहा है, वो सिर्फ ये नहीं कि देख रहा है, वो सिर्फ ये नहीं कि वो इंटेंशनली जो है खुशी जो है वो अटेंड कर रहा है इस डेमोस्ट्रेशन को, बल्कि he is willing to engage इस पे, वो क्वेश्चन कर रहा है, he is accepting the importance of that, and he is observing very carefully, but he is not getting a point, so question कर रहा है. So that responding, that particular जो है उनका willingly engagement in that demonstration that is actually responding. And then he continued to be present there and willingly he is just listening carefully. That is the value, which means accepting the worth of that. Just for example, one ये भी है when he is attending a demonstration, he is going to the lab skill, and the rules are there that the student should have wearing that lab coat, that overall. So he should have, if he is in the overall, so again, he is valuing this rule that yes, this is except to work that wearing overall is important in the lab skill or in the practice. That is actually he is uh, accepting that rules and regulations. This is the value. He is giving value to that rules. He is accepting that yes, it is important to have that overall in the lab. Now during the class, he have some call. Like he had to divide these two activities. He is listening, he is attending the demonstration, he is observing the demonstration. Here is a call on his mobile. He has to organize the values. He have to categorize that either attending the call is important or continuing listening carefully the demonstration is important. The demonstrator is important. So it is he not only categorize but he को क्या करता है उसको organize करता है. Categorize mean priority list में रखते हैं कि no silent mobile silent रखते हैं. Now that keeping the mobile silent is also in that willing, yes, keeping the mobile should be silent. He is willing and accepting the worth of that. So Kale here again keeping their mobile and just ignore the call and continuing observing the demonstration. This is actually organized with the values and determine the interrelations. And then this behavior, this consciously attending, that carefully listening, willingly participation, and within the that clean uniform, within uniform, and wearing their overall, keeping the mobile silent. This is then become the character of that person. He adopt this behavior, and every time when he enter into the class, all these have that is a routine thing, and that happen by itself. This is the adaptation of that. So this is actually the structure domain in which we assess the attitudes, beliefs, emotions, and the role expectation, as well as we are just what we are expecting, the manners and rule regulation from our students, not only in the practical class, in the lab skill, but also in the classroom when there is a presentation. You know. So this is another elaboration that what we can explain how we can elaborate the 5 levels of this domain. So receiving simple relation other with respect, responding, participate in discussion. It means if someone is just listening, but he is not willing to listen that person, so he is not participating in the discussion. He is not putting his part. He is not going to respond what he is doing, but he is just listening. So this is actually obviously a bad attitude. So responding is participating in the discussion, not only listening but also to engagement, willingly engaging himself or herself in that. Valuing, propose a plan to social improvement and follow through with commitment, organizing, prioritize time effectively to meet the needs of the organization, family, and itself. So he prioritized that at that time I have family time, so that's why I have to avoid some work. But when during the office, he should avoid the matters of the family and others. So that is actually the prioritizing, the categorizing the different values, the different tasks that, and then so then he actually have to accept the top value. And then when he is continuously prioritizing in that way, and that sequence can become the character of that person. He just adapted to that sequence. So if someone has sequences and prioritizing in a bad sequence, so when he continuously it become addicted to that sequence, and that is actually known as the characterization. So coming back towards the construction, the mechanism of constructing the learning outcomes. So just revising the acronym, which we call it the SMART. That's our objective. They should be very specific, and these characteristics make it from the goal and aim, which is very broad. It should be measurable. It should be attainable, achievable. It should be realistic as well as it is relevant to the and it is time bound as well. So, what does this word mean? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based. While it also means discipline, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. So we have discussed all these that the objective should specify what they want to achieve. You should be able to measure whether you are meeting the objective or not. Are the objectives you set are possible? Can you realistically achieve the objectives with the resources you have? Time or when do you want to achieve the set objectives? Realistic means that if you are expecting from the students to measure and to discuss and to have that elaboration of something within on the other plans. That is not realistic, something which is possible. It should be relevant to the field as well. Another acronym which is used for that characterization of the learning objectives is the ABCD. Not that anybody can dance, but that simply means the audience, behavior, condition, and entity. So these ABCD, this means that who are the audience, what is observable behavior, what is the condition of that execution, and what is the dictator. For audience who will be doing the behavior, there may be the undergraduate students, there may be the graduate students, there may be the colleagues and the professionals, there may be some government personnel, there may be friends. But who are listening to you when you are presenting, when you are just demonstrating a skill, when you are delivering a lecture, who are in front of you, who are listening to you. So this means the audience. Keeping in mind. What is the observable behavior? What will be the learning be able to do as a result of learning? Example, learning will find diabetes. Condition. What are the conditions under which the learners must demonstrate their mastery of the objective? So this is under assistance, simulation, observation, independent. It depends on at which stage you are going to demonstrate them. If that is in the initial, so that will be just observation. And then if it is in the second, then they will be need assistance, they need feedback, there will be chances of error, but they may use under the simulation and simulation under the supervision. Here they will be critical involvement of the student, and then it is in the real life environment. Just like there are three stages of learning. So one is the cognitive stage, when he will observe what the teacher is doing. Is the spirit stage, and he automatically will be involved what he had to do, and then autonomous in the activity because he is expert in that context and he becomes automatically the movements and all the skills are executed itself. Then degree and criteria, what are the standards of acceptable performance? You are looking at the quantity, quality, or the institute. So compiling all these things, what are the steps of writing the learning objectives? So before going to the discussion and elaboration of the steps, which thing is required for learning the objectives? What are the ingredients which are required? Just like that is how to cook a dish. So before going to elaborate the procedure of cooking that dish, all the list of all the ingredients of that dish, they are listed. These are the requirements of preparing that dish. So that is the domain of learning, which means understanding deep about the Bloom taxonomy, which we have discussed in the previous lectures. So the guidelines for writing the objectives, that is simply we have to be very careful while we are writing the learning objective or the learning outcome. And it should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. When we are going to write an objective, it should start with a blanket statement, and after the blanket statement, we should start the sentence with an action verb. What that action verb means, like we can see, the students will be able to see. अब see जो है, this is not an action verb. The action verb like which we can measure, like the student will be able to enlist, describe, um, define, differentiate. They should be able to compare, justify. These are the example of the action verb. And then the using up to that action verb, the remaining will be just regarding to spot or that is using mnemonic. Just like by the end of this session, the students will be able to. This is actually known as the blanket statement. Write a blanket statement. So that is by the end of this session. Now that may be there may be a class, there may be a semester, there may be a module, there may be an year. By the end of this lecture, by the end of this session, by the end of this module, now these are the audience. Who are the audience? They are the trainees, they are the colleagues, they are the students. Who are they? So you will write them. So by the end of this session, the students would be able to. Now here, this is that action verb. Unless drugs leading to arrhythmias. Now leading to arrhythmia, that's the specific nature of that object. And then another example, it's able to describe iron deficiency anemia. So again, this is very specific, which type of anemia and what to do with the anemia, they have to describe. We not only define the word iron deficiency anemia, they have to elaborate what we mean from the iron deficiency anemia. Similarly, we have another example. By the end of the second, student will be able to. This is again the blanket statement. They should be present with every objective and every learning outcome. Then they will be able to interpret the given investigation, analyze the given treatment plan of a patient with asthma. Another example, by the end of this session, the students would be able to compare different models of leadership and management. Another example, by the end of this session, the students would be able to differentiate between the altruism and the traditional. And that was the end of today's session. We discussed the three domains of the Bloom taxonomy, and before that, we discussed what is learning, what is the difference between outcome, objective, goal, and competency. We then discuss the competency, and after description and revising the three domain of the Bloom, then we discuss how to construct a learning outcome or learning objective. Thank you so much to all of you. Have a nice day.